Next, the fashion retailer Boohoo says it's creating around 200 jobs in Leicester this October when it opens its own factory. And its chief executives defended his decision not to resign over the mistreatment of local garment workers. John Little's been speaking about how Boohoo's tackling serious problems in its supply chain. Our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball reports.
Fast fashion, tight margins, manufacturers cutting costs to compete. Boohoo's boss faced calls to resign last year over a business model that exploited some workers in Leicester. Now he's spoken to the BBC.
We were very upset about those reports. I think my role is to make sure if there's a problem to fix it. If I'd resigned at the time, that would have set us back in terms of the time it would have taken to do what we needed to do.
A critical report found Boohoo's supply chain included factories that simply weren't safe and people on well below the minimum wage for the hours they were working. So now its suppliers are facing thorough checks.
Looking to make sure everybody's got electronic bank payments, for example. Looking in terms of biometric clocking in machines. Again, so how can we trace right down to checking in the number of hours and then looking at the pay going into somebody's bank account? They're the things that we can do on our side.
Boohoo now employs thousands of people directly at this distribution centre, and it's now preparing to recruit its own manufacturing workers in Leicester.
Let's not run away to overseas countries to manufacture more product. Let's fix it at home, but keep the jobs at home as you can. And equally, you'll see in October of this year, we're opening our own factory in Leicester. That's going to be about 200 jobs. So again, our commitment to manufacturing in the UK, but equally our commitment to manufacturing in Leicester.
There have been concerns for years that Leicester's textile workers are paying the price of cutthroat competition, but Boohoo says it's already implemented most of its recommended changes, and it's still using around 50 manufacturers in Leicester.
Well, Jeremy's here in the studio. Jeremy, this isn't just about Boohoo, is it? It goes a lot wider than that.
Yeah, and that's because Leicester's such a huge centre for textile manufacturing. And Emily, a lot of these complaints actually come from legitimate firms who are worried they're being undercut. You'll hear talk about sweatshops, you'll hear talk about Dickensian conditions, and this all reached fever pitch last year. You might remember this after Leicester became a national coronavirus hotspot. Now, what that did was to prompt action from the government. They ordered investigations from several agencies which looked at everything from modern slavery to health and safety breaches.
So what did they find?
They found some workers weren't being paid the minimum wage. They did find some safety issues. One factory had workers sleeping on the floor. What they didn't find, though, was evidence of the worst allegations, and they didn't find any clear link with those COVID spikes. And we're told there hasn't been a single prosecution from these investigations. Now, I think the question is, why not? Could it be that some victims were too scared to come forward? Could it be that these problems were simply exaggerated? There's another explanation which the Gangmasters and Labour Abuse Authority have given. They reckon that some dodgy factories simply shut down when investigators went in and then reopened with different names. And they've called this process phoenixing because these are companies that rise out of the ashes after another one disappears.